for breaking it all down as we are getting ready for game number 1 of Top Esports up against G2. And right off the bat, we're not going to see the Ivern here, Joshi.
Not a big surprise. We saw how effective TES were able to use that yesterday in their matchup up against Gen G, and you really want to make sure that you do not have to give over any of these odd picks right out of the gate. But one of the things that I did hear our studio say before, they said a lot of brains, a lot of hearts seem to be on TES. Surprised that it is that dominant, because we have to remember that G2 actually 3-0 TES last time these two teams played.
That did happen, and, you know, coming into a best of 3, I think it always makes it more volatile, and, you know, we could easily see G2 pick up the win here tonight. I think it is going to be a very even matchup. I do agree with you, Joshi, and I think we're going to learn a lot from this first draft. I think the draft has been, as always, a big highlight of discussion here in this tournament, EWC, and let's see what this first pick will be. It looks like the Tristana is open, so that will be the choice.
Makes a lot of sense. Corki is still available, but Caps is one of the mid laners who has played a large variety of different champions here in the mid lane. One of the things that I am noticing quite a bit is that Red Side actually has won a lot more games here at this event than it has in previous ones, simply because we've been seeing so many cool counter picks. With getting that one game oftentimes in a best of 3, you can completely turn things on its head. And I'm expecting this first half of the draft to be relatively normal. I'm looking at things like the Leona, the Nautilus still coming out here, potentially even a jungler as well, to make sure that G2 has a solid core to start with.
Well, we're going to see Anivia and Nunu, so trying to bring the Frost in, and it will be Sejuani for the third hover and pick for their side. Definitely a couple of very high-tier picks. You get the Corki into the Tristana, you've got the Sejuani in the jungle, and let's see what Top Esports will respond with, as we haven't seen too much Nidalee in this tournament. This could be a decent angle to go for it, but with the priority on Ezreal very high, perhaps it's just Ezreal Leona, or maybe just the Ezreal.
And also the Zyra currently being hovered. The Ezreal makes a lot of sense. It is a very strong champion. We have seen it be used in the AD carry all the time, but it is going to be a Leona as well. A very strong core already built up for Top Esports. They have a lot of range. They have a very strong ability to play later on. The Braum has been the primary counter pick that we have been seeing through Leona. Both teams really ready to roll. The big thing that I'm going to be looking at for G2 is how much more Freljord can they actually pick up for themselves. We have seen that this has been such a strong combination, especially with the Ashe so far this tournament, simply because of how easy it is to lock down single targets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ashe has to be the first ban. If it's not the first ban, it's the second ban for Top Esports. As we are going to see the Renekton taken down, and definitely is one of those big picks for 369 up in the top side, so they want to open up the potential to go ahead and pick something that's a bit tankier up there without the fear of getting countered, as the Ashe is going to be the first ban in this second phase.
Not a big surprise there. It is a big question because Vars has performed a very similar role. Kalista has largely fallen off from this meta, especially because of the changes to opportunity on this most recent patch. However, there are going to be a lot of options still available for Hans Summit. The Draven that he has been famous for so long is still available, and Top Esports can only ban one of them, and in fact, they choose to go with the Caitlyn, so there are still some very powerful priority picks here for Hans Summit.
Yeah, there definitely are. You saw Dylan talking a lot there in the back as Draven being hovered here, perhaps trying to get a bit more aggressive in this lane. As, you know, if you can start it off in near terms, Draven Braum does do a lot, but it will be the Sivir, just Sivir Braum straight up.
I mean, we have been seeing this come through as the lane swaps are powerful, with Ezreal just kind of winning every bottom lane, kind of no matter what. It does make a lot of sense to have the option to have a scaling pick. However, as we saw in that last game from T1, it did take a long time for the Sivir to come online. There are going to be several power spikes coming in well before that, with the Zyra coming in as well for Tian. We did see that this was the one game that Top Esports really struggled with, where Tian never got off the ground on the Zyra pick, and G2 is going to have to look to do something similar.
Yeah, I mean, the Cassante feels pretty safe here, regardless of what Broken Blade does want to play, especially with the Renekton taken off the board. Skarner nowadays doesn't feel great, never really did into the Cassante, so let's see what we are going to see in the top side for Broken Blade. It's not going to be, well, it's just going to be Xin Zhao or the Sejuani. They've got a choice here. Let's see what they do land on.
It's been a long time since I've seen a Xin Zhao in a solo lane, gotta admit that one, but it does make a lot of sense that Sejuani could be going towards the top side. You now have this very powerful bridge coming out from Yike in the jungle in order to put a little bit of pressure on Tian and also to make sure you have some of this skirmishing power early on in the game to get Caps and Hansama to the points that they need to be at. Ultimately, though, I gotta say, I like the top esports draft quite a bit. And just the artistry that we always see in League of Legends never ceases to impress. But as we jump into this one as well, I'm going to be looking quite a bit at how Yike is going to be pathing early on in the game. He can work with Sejuani. These two champions synergize very well together. However, you have to be very careful what targets you're actually going to be going for. You can go into the Cassante, but you can block a lot of that crowd control, whereas the other side, it's still an Ezreal where you're going to have to be trying to jump on top of. And, you know, Ezreal is well known for being hard to get onto.
Yeah, it definitely is. I feel like, you know, if they were going to go for that more aggressive lane with the Draven Braum, I actually might have liked it a bit more, just really doubling down on the laning phase, trying to get some big wins early on. But as you mentioned, you know, Ezreal in its current form just feels so powerful that, yeah, he just kind of wins. He just kind of wins all the lanes. It kind of feels like the bot lane equivalent of Tristana right now, where it's like, okay, you got Tristana. You're going to win the mid lane. Like, that's going to happen 9 times out of 10.
As we are looking at this, though, it does not look like G2 is going to be obviously opting into those lane swaps that I was really expecting to see in this one. Instead, they are going to be sending Hansama and Nikki down towards the bottom side as well. So they are going to have to be very careful in this early game. You do have some tools to clear out the wave, but the wave clear from Sivir takes a little while to come online. You don't just get to press W at level 1 and clear the wave. You can get some push, but this is also a lane where you need to be very careful because you only have 1 spell shield. It turns out Leona has 2 crowd control.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough, and you got to be careful about timing that correctly to actually avoid the stun. As, speaking of which, very early on, Mako, level 1, putting on the pressure here. And, you know, in fact, the Ezreal-Leona lane should be winning at level 1, so I do like that they are getting aggressive and trying to put on some pressure and chip away at the health bars of the G2 bottom lane already.
Yeah, going right back on in, and we're seeing just going in for these very quick trades. That's the mark of how you actually win this bottom lane, because the longer the trade actually goes, the more the Braum passive really starts to kick in. You don't want to be taking those stuns, and already with the level 2 advantage, they're going to be able to crash this wave relatively early on, and that means that as the wave will bounce back towards top esports side of the map, it's going to be really difficult for Yike to do anything.
Pretty nice cue there from Hansama, actually getting the forward and the backward pushes of that one. But yeah, basically need whatever you can get in this lane, which is kind of why you were expecting perhaps the swap to come through. But yeah, I mean, essentially, you know, with your top and jungle synergy that you do have, maybe we will see eventually Yike heading up to the top side, trying to bully 369 out and not just give him a free lane, as now the stun is being stacked up here on a Jackie Love, who will just have to Arcane Shift away, as Tian now coming down to the bottom side, level 4.
Not a big surprise that he's here so much faster than Yike, but the question is, what is Yike going to do as the Zyra does step on as the plate goes out?
Yeah, the door will be held here as Arud could get some big value as the cleanse has to come out and Hansama has to flash as well. Jackie Love nearly going down himself, but really trying to exert 10 out of 10 pressure down here in the bottom lane.
Lots of pressure coming out, lots of summoner spells invested as well, and Yike just farming up, maintains equality. They should have a very good idea that Yike is in the air, which is why Tian is playing so cautiously at the moment, but with these low health bars, you know a dive is coming.
Yeah, the dive will be coming. The flash just come in. That's a nice spell shield. Mako could be in a bit of trouble. First blood does go over to Hansama as it does get traded back here over to Tian. But still, so many low health bars here. As Mako, you know, the first one to go down, I feel like G2 kind of get out of that one mostly scot-free.
The fact that the kill goes over to Hansama is a pretty big win for the side of G2. Tian getting the early kill on the Zyra does mean that the clear speed is going to be absolutely not, but a great amount of patience coming through from Yike to make sure that they can trade things. Unfortunately, the air attack had already gone out, and that means that there is no escape for Mickey. But overall, G2 holding pretty strong in this early game.
Yeah, they definitely are, as now Mickey X, level 3, trying to get proactive out on the map here. Just heading into the mid lane, trying to help out a little bit, but Cream gets a pretty nice back timing himself after Caps had already TP'd into the lane. So he's going to return with full health, whereas Caps You know, went back, got a tier, got a call, but does not have a refillable potion. And he used his TP to get back in here and took that chunk of damage. So could definitely influence the way this mid game plays out here for a little bit.
Also, shout out to Mako for making sure that the wave didn't get into too bad of a position, just constantly asking questions of how G2 were going to play it as they go back towards the bottom lane. Game very even early on, which I have to say is a small win here for G2 because they were able to turn around that early play. We do notice that the gold lead elsewhere is actually mostly in favor of G2. It really just is Tian who has built up that lead because they farm faster, they did get the first kill. But we do have to say that the kill going over to Hansama makes up for the fact that they are down a lot of CS, which is, again, why we're expecting this lane swap.
Yeah, it doesn't come through. They just want to fight it straight up, and Hansama eventually will just be able to press a couple of buttons and clear the wave and essentially just ignore the Ezreal. So could be something to look for as this does come along. For now, though, we're still putting on the pressure, and guess who's back? Back again. It's Tien in the bottom lane.
Tell a friend.
And, yeah, tell a friend. I mean, he's going to make it very obvious, too. He's clearing out the wards. He's like, hey, guys, I'm here. And G2 will have to respect this. They do back away. Nice dodge here on the root. Ooh. Still a lot of damage being done to the Braum as he gets stunned straight up. And, you know, doesn't get a kill, but it's still a very effective gank.
Shout out to the way that Top Esports is playing around every single one of these waves, just going down there as Tiana and giving Jackulev and Mako so much pressure on the map means that Mickey X has to back away, and you're going to be giving over those plays. You don't necessarily need to be getting these kills, but we're also seeing some of the ramifications of the later back coming through from Cream. Still has both of those refillable potion slots, and Caps completely out of mana despite the early tier. Top Esports doesn't look like they're done paying attention to the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, Tian, he can just sit here and be very, very annoying. He wins in the 2v2 just because the amount of plants, the amount of control he's going to have before Yike can really get going, especially because the Sivir early on is just so weak compared to the Ezreal. So it's just kind of a roaming three-man squad down here, and here comes Cream trying to get in onto Caps as the auto comes in and the hop over the wall. Cream, why did you give him Tristana again? I have no idea.
It's so clean, ultimately. Top Esports, with all the pressure going down towards the bottom side, they know exactly where Yike is, and Cream is free to go for that play. The early back really making a difference here for G2 as they do end up falling. And Tian still in the bottom lane.
Guess who's back again and again? And now he's going to hit level 6, actually, off of the wave. So just even more pressure. I think with this amount of priority as well, you can expect them to roll this into an early Infernal Drake, which is going to benefit everybody. And we'll see if they do start that. Not just yet, as here's the replay in the 1v1.
This one fairly straightforward, right? Cream just jumps on in, knows that Caps doesn't have any mana whatsoever. There's not enough mana to do anything other than Valkyrie away, and following through, making sure you get that last part of the explosive shot is so easy. And we see another game.
Guess who's back again and again and again? He's here. The ult is going to hit them both. Hansama, there's nowhere to go. And yes, Mako, he dies. But you think Top Esports care about that? The answer is no. They get 2 kills, and they get this Ezreal massively fed.
This is ridiculous coming out from Top Esports. This is looking like a different game ultimately, where it's just going for a tri-lane with the amount of time that Tian is spending down here, and G2 not prepared for it whatsoever. Yike has to go farming on the other side of the map, and this is just clinical. You're able to get so much damage down. You start everything with the ultimate from Tian, and what do? You don't have the summoner spells. You do not have the mobility to get out of that ultimate.
There's just nowhere for them to go. They have no control on the bottom side of the map. They can't clear the waves. The Xin Zhao cannot match. And Yike, you know, he doesn't want to just sit in the bottom lane and spend all of his time just babysitting the Sivir, hoping that Hansama eventually will be doing something in this game. As now Yike is going to try to make his presence felt here at level 6 at least, as he will steal away the blue buff. And as a team, G2 are maneuvering up to the top side with these Void Grubs available.
But it's still a very dangerous position to be in because Tian is so strong. As soon as the ultimate is back up, you're going to have to give a lot of ground right back on over to Top Esports. And this is part of why we're seeing Yike just going as quickly as possible. But Top Esports not going to be contesting this one. They know that there is more blood to be had down the bottom side. As you see, Tian moving down, can go for the dragon, but can also just go for a Hansama. And as soon as you see a Hansama back away, well, the answer becomes very easy. Just pick up this dragon, make sure you get a trade on the map. And like you said, this Infernal Dragon is going to benefit so many of the members here of Top Esports. Every single one of them loving the extra adaptive force that you get.
Yeah, it's going to feel great for them. I mean, you feel a little bit bad that Tristana isn't getting Void Grubs. She is one of those champs that really does love them. But at the end of the day, you know, maybe you can pick up a couple later on. It's not going to be your main win condition regardless, as Cream has done a very good job of just getting fed. And sometimes that extra money and extra items will get the job done instead. So they get that Infernal Drake. They have dominance in mid, they have dominance in bot, and so far the top lane hasn't really mattered all too much. So Top Esports definitely very much in control of this early game.
Yeah, in general, my policy oftentimes is with top lane is you check in at 14 minutes, you do your obligatory check-ins like, oh, how many plates went down? Okay, cool. Are you guys both playing tanks? Yep, cool. We'll talk about you guys when we see you in team fights. Top Esports and G2 are absolutely making this game entirely about the bottom side of the map, and we have seen that Jackie Love has been a Israel savant, I would say, this tournament. You know, everyone has those moments where like, maybe you should have arcane shifted forward. Jackie Love has way more times where he does the arcane shift forward and just finds multiple kills. I'm really looking forward to seeing when this composition actually starts popping off, because he has been getting close to the Trinity Force.
Yeah, I mean, this is already the domination, as you mentioned, before they really hit any item spikes, right? So it's a good call to look to see just how fast they're going to be able to hit those spikes. As TP just to deny a push in mid. Cream feeling very good about just picking up his Kraken Slayer here at 11 minutes into the game. And Mako now out on the map, going to be clearing out some of this vision and preparing for the next Drake, which, by the way, is a Chemtech Drake. So the soul should be pretty
good one.
Nice for regardless of what we get here.
Yeah, we've had a lot of Infernal Souls so far throughout this tournament. However, it will not be that one this time around. I'm really curious to see how Top Esports are going to be playing around the upcoming Grubs, because in 2 minutes we are going to be getting another spawn of those, and there's a lot of pressure that you can't put on the map. Like you said, Cream would have loved to have that, but ultimately, like you said, it's not the win condition in this game. This game is so much more about just getting the gold into the right targets. And I kind of want to go back to a discussion that we were having yesterday when Top Esports did take down Gen G. Are Top Esports the favorite in this tournament from this position? Is it T1? Is it Top Esports? And I feel as though seeing how powerfully and how resoundingly Top Esports actually took down Gen G yesterday, and based on the transit property, they should be way better than T1, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if they do eventually take down T1, but they got to get through G2 first. And so far, it is looking pretty strong in this first game, as Cream wanting to punish Caps, who will respect it from now. We saw him try to flash away from Tristana in the last trade underneath his own turret, just a bit desperate, you know, not going to help him out too much. He does have his flash back at least, and he has been able to stabilize the mid lane, not falling too far behind in CS, but still going to be kicking himself for that early death. As after all these shenanigans down on the bottom side of the map, we've essentially just kind of stagnated from here. You know, the Drake did go the way of Top Esports. We saw the Grubs go over to G2, and now we're waiting for the next piece of action as Tana's going to spot Mickey X deep in his own jungle as, oh no, what was that? The blast cone gonna send him into the air. He is Braum, so he can jump over the pit, but definitely got a bit awkward there for a moment.
Yeah. I have to say that might be the one interaction in League of Legends that I just cannot stand, is the times where you just like go straight up and down with the blast cone. But either way, Top Esports are still creating pressure across the map, and with the Grub spawning in a couple seconds and the Dragon spawning in about a minute, Top Esports once again trying to reprise their role in the bottom lane with all three members, including the jungle, going down towards the bottom side. And because Tian is so strong at this point, he can just do so much chip damage, and Han Sama has to be so careful even just staying around these walls, because you never know when a seed and a plant is going to grow out of the garden.
Yeah, and you see Vanessa Spell Shield, just the arcane shift damage, just to try to survive, just to try to stay as healthy as possible, as now Yike is going to make his presence felt. But look at the mid lane. Caps yet to back. He doesn't have TP, and the mid lane turret is just naturally going down in a 1v1, as Cream has really, again, I said it during the play-by-play, but why'd you give this guy Tristana? He just beat Gen G 2-0 with this pick, and now he is just doing an insane amount of damage in mid.
It is so crazy seeing what Cream can actually do with his Caps. You know, not a slouch on this Corki whatsoever, but the 1v1 solo kill going to go to Cream really changes the dynamic of the matchup quite a bit. And with another Dragon spawning in 15 seconds, Top Esports pushing out this mid lane, taking control, can even do a chunk of damage to the turret if they want to. Instead, they are going to be okay.
All right, trying to go in on Tien here. He's going to drop down the ultimate as the Xin Zhao. You know, once it does get on top of you, you do see the power that it has, so that's going to force Tien to back away. And actually takes a ton of damage. Meanwhile, on the top lane, we haven't seen much of this, but in the 1v1, 369 looking for it as he does go unstoppable, as the Glacial Prison does come out, but not able to get the kill. Broken Blade does have TP, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal up there.
In the mid lane, though, it doesn't look like we're quite done with the action.
Oh, that Q is going to hit him, and now the rocket hits him as well as a couple of ranged minions. That's going to kill Cream, as maybe a little bit overconfident in that trade.
We saw earlier that both Tian and Kareem used their ultimates at the same time to try and get Yike out of the fight, and losing the Buster Shot there ends up really biting Kareem. The flash has to be expended, and now G2, despite the fact that the bottom side of the map has been going so rough, are actually going to be building up even more of these neutral objectives. They got 3 of the grubs, the other 3 never got picked up, and that means that this Rift Herald going over to G2 as well will allow them to recover some of the gold that they have been missing so far in this game, and getting that kill onto Kareem really changes some of the dynamics that you tend to see, because now with no flash, you can't be quite as aggressive in the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely. As meanwhile, Tian just getting to work here on this Chemtech Drake. We see that Yike is in the top jungle, so there should be a couple of Drakes already going the way of Top Esports. Not a big surprise with the way that the early game has gone, as it will be actually a Hextech Soul. And if you give that to an Ezreal alone, but also a Tristana, even the Zyra loves this, so definitely going to be a big soul to contend for both of these teams.
Yeah. There's also my favorite part of the game where, you know, Mom decides where the Tristana goes. Like, you know, that top lane turret is still alive. Mom said it's my turn to go towards the top lane. I would not be surprised to see Kareem head up there soon.
It's going to force the TP out already as 369's like, yeah, I don't really care about that. He's just looking to take down Caps. That's nice flash from Caps, though, and 369 might be punished here as that's a lot of damage. Yes, the Q3 hits Caps.
The bot lane.
And, you know, yeah, as you mentioned, the TP is forced, but that means that Cream gets a free inner turret. And
this inner turret is worth so much more gold than the outer turret, and Cream on this Tristana, even with no Void Grubs, will get so much in the mid lane as well. Not going to be finding any actual fighting there, but they are going to be getting multiple structures, and even if you get this one, it's not going on to the same kind of valuable person that Cream is.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw something like this happen actually in the TLT1 game. Game number 3, I believe, where Teal were able to get a very nice macro lead here in the mid game with a very similar play, like what we saw at Top Esports here. But yeah, the teleport is going to come out, and all of a sudden, they might be able to get a bit more off of this as, yeah, he just tries to crescent guard his way out of this one, but Yike will be taken down. Even a thumbs up as well, as the Rift Herald is still pushing and will eventually go down. So not only do they get the outer mid and the inner bot, but they also get a kill in top lane.
And they're also in a perfect position on the map now to try and play for the top side turret. We'll take another look at this last play. This is 369 getting very aggressive and not respecting the ability of G2 to go for a teleport. I was very surprised to actually see the all-out go into the lane instead of trying to get it over the wall, because if you had a little bit more time with no Broken Blade, maybe you'd end up picking up. Instead, it's a very easy kill. However, G2 get baited later. Uh-oh.
Yeah, 369 in a lot of trouble here, as once again, he's getting very over-aggressive. He's going to pull the Braum over, though, and maybe he gets out from here. The flash as well, as Mickey X does not want to allow this one. And yeah, I think 369 will eventually go down, right? Cassante is crazy sometimes, but it does take 4 members to eventually get the kill. So trades back for teleports on both sides, and yes, 369 will go down, but it's still a almost 4,000 gold lead here for Top Esports, who are very much in control of the map at the moment.
And it's also important to remember that we got to see how long it took them to take down 369 in a 4v1. Remember, he doesn't even have the Randuin's done yet, and there is not that first damage profile coming out from G2 whatsoever. So this Cassante is going to get harder and harder to take down. Even though he's currently rolling a 3, just by the nature of his champion in this draft, we're going to get at least a 6 on the 369 scale.
Yeah, I mean, eventually he will just stand there and he's like rolling sixes. Even if he's not pressing his buttons, he's like, yeah, I built the right items. So
what do you do?
Feels very good, absolutely. And we'll take a look at the replay once again, just on the top side. 369 caught a bit deep in the top lane.
Yeah, we get to see the TFT Glacial set really coming out big for a little while as it takes him forever to move. Honestly, impressive how far he was able to move on this map at all, but G2 just make sure there's no real opportunity, and this time Top Esports not in a position to actually go for a play anywhere else. It looks like they tried to make something happen onto Yike, but very difficult to do that in the mid lane, knowing how close the rest of G2 are. But we have about a minute left until the next dragon comes up, and we have to identify that Top Esports are so hard to dislodge once they've actually set up in an area.
Yeah, it is kind of insane what you can get going with just Zyra, but also you've got this really thick front line with the Leona and the Cassante that's really difficult to break through, and they can maneuver themselves very well. They can, you know, push onto you very easily as Cream. We talked about this.
Yep,
he doesn't need void grubs, just hit the turret.
Yeah, another inner turret. It's 2 kills, but this time it's divided between 369 and Cream. Still 2 great players to give it towards, and so much pressure coming out in the middle of the map at the same time. We're going to be seeing another turret take a lot of damage as 369 threatens to dive.
So the turrets are just falling for free here. I mean, 369 just exerting his presence behind the turret, and that means that G2 have to back away, especially because Caps is in the bottom lane, and yes, he'll get that turret for himself, but an inner mid turret at 20 minutes into the game is very quick for a game that's, you know, still relatively close. So it feels like Top Esports, they've identified, hey, we have this lead, let's use it to just get more money as soon as we possibly can.
And they're also going to be in perfect position. Cream doesn't even need to back. They are ready to go for this Hextech Dragon as well, getting themselves to Soul Point with one of the best souls in the game. Just the AoE slow, the only stacking slow in the game, actually, still going to come through. And Top Esports going to grab another one.
Yeah, I mean, G2 are here. They want to fight, but they're late to the party. They get in, and everybody's already left. And so they're going to leave themselves. So not much of a fight there on the Drake. It is just going to go the way of Top Esports once again. We see those fans out there in the crowd as well, showing their signs, even a G2 sign there. I saw that one as well, hoping that maybe G2 can come back in this game. But at the moment, Top Esports not letting go of their vice grip on this one.
And it's going to be very tough. This composition coming out from Top Esports does the Baron very, very quickly. You have the double marksman. One of them is Tristana. You also have the Zyra, so not only are you doing it quickly, you're also doing it very healthy because the plants are tanking all of the Baron shots. It's very difficult for G2 to try and find anything. We were looking at a composition that had a decent amount of crowd control, and it still does, but Top Esports are not really giving any entrances back into the game, and now Tian getting ready to start it up. Yike tries to check things out. The wind becomes lightning, but G2 are completely blind as to if they're actually hitting.
Yeah. I remember we were watching TL versus T1. We were begging Team Liquid to start the Baron. Top Esports are like, yeah, we'll start it here at 22 minutes if we have to. They're not actually going to, but they are setting up just the immense vision control you were mentioning, Joshi, on this objective. And as it starts, you know, G2, they have to push in, they have to try to get vision themselves, and that leads to Mickey X taking a big chunk of damage and some extra priority going over the way of Top Esports. Mickey X gonna hop forward as the wall goes up. The Solar Flare is gonna miss, but Yike is just so low at the same time that Top Esports still liking their position.
Yeah, Yike taking all that damage should be all the impetus that Top Esports needs to actually go for this Baron. Yike will have to back away, and even with the Hextech portals, look at how quickly this goes down. G2 walking directly into the trap, and they don't have another option.
Yeah, I mean, they have to try to fight for this one, but now we got 369 in the back line. He's going to set it up, and we have the Baron going the way of Top Esports. Is 369 just going to disappear somehow. Didn't see how that damage went into him. He was just way too deep. As now Top Esports, they want to get this objective and back away. 10 also going to flash out of this one, and it gets a bit messy. Ike's looking for a bit more. As when comes lightning, he is going to get in onto the Zyra, and he will be shut down. But still, the Baron and 3 members left remaining here for Top Esports.
It's a lot of gold that G2 did pick up in that last fight with a couple of shutdowns, but it is nowhere near as much as Top Esports will get with this Baron. We get to see 369 jumping over, just evaporates in this last fight with the amount of damage that Caps is currently putting out. But this fight was so close to going so differently. Mickey X not going down in that last fight means that Cream has to play much more defensively in every single one of these fights. And then you are able to chase Tian down. Top Esports walk away with 3 Baron buffs, but they have less of a gold advantage after picking up the Baron than they did before. But they still have 2 minutes left of that, and that'll perfectly give them the opportunity to go for the Hextech Soul at the end of it.
Yeah, the timing of everything is, very clean from the side of Top Esports. It does feel like they're playing this game like it's chess. They're not taking their lead and trying to throw it in their opponent's faces. They're saying, no, let's try to really play this map. Let's try to really play smart around all of these objectives, and they've done a great job at that. If you look at the scoreline, G2 have more kills, but it's still Top Esports that are in the lead in terms of turrets, in terms of map control, in terms of objectives taken, gold, obviously, dragons. And they're just trying to utilize that as now we're going to see the Sivir ultimate coming through as the Q is going to miss from Mickey X. Also a kind of a half-arted ult to be thrown in. And, well, not able to get much going there is G2, but they really want to get a fight here before this Drake starts. Look at Cream. He's just in the top side. His Broken Blade also going to miss his ult, and now they're losing an inhibitor turret.
That is brutal, and they're not even done. Top Esports just doing whatever they can to make sure that G2 are still here. Cream still wailing away on the inhibitor. Caps will get there to try and do something, but I think Cream wins that 1v1.
It's just insane. How many turrets Cream has taken down by himself as now we have the TP coming in. The rocket jump to try to get away as Cream is totally fine. He hops away again.
No.
And here we got a Cassante in the backline, and that is never a good sign for the enemy team as Cream is being isolated by G2. They finally take down that pesky Yordle that is Tristana. But I have a feeling they're not going to be taking out this game as, oh God, that was a huge one. And now we got 369 just chasing him down. Not much of a chance for Hansama to get out of this one. He's got a blast cone and a dream. Oh, wow. That is just so troll. And he's going to get away for now as 369 is still chasing him. But, yeah, Baron buff is also going to expire. Top Esports having a bit of fun as they're taking down a lot of objectives still in this one as finally... No? Okay, never mind.
Wow.
Just kidding.
He actually got out of that. I mean, congrats to Hansama on living. He does have 2.5 items to his name, but while all that chasing was happening, Jackie Love was also taking the mid lane inhibitor turret, getting even more pressure there. And so Top Esports will reward themselves after all is said and done with the Hextech Soul Yike on the right side of the map, but nowhere near close enough, and that is going to be an overwhelming advantage. 8,000 gold and the Hextech Soul already in the possession here for Top Esports at 27 minutes into the game. A very fast Soul, a very fast-paced game coming through, and really just seeing all the Tristanas throughout this tournament, having so much free time in the side lanes. You have to look at the fact it's a 2,500 gold lead for Cream, but he only has a single kill.
1 kill. He's playing PvE. Doesn't care. Just hitting turrets, getting Baron buffs, just not even looking at his opponents. And he is going to enjoy a very big lead because of that. And now with this Hextech Soul, you would imagine that Top Esports, even without the Baron, can begin to threaten more of this base if they would like to. I don't even think they need to play this one slowly. And to be honest, Top Esports haven't shown that they like playing the game slowly at all. So here they come, barreling down the bottom lane.
The good news, at least for G2, is they do have a lot of wave clear between the Corgi and the Sivir, so they can stall things out rather effectively as long as Top Esports does not have the Baron, and we are seeing a little bit of that every time Hansama steps up to the wave. Does take a chunk out of Jackie Love, and this wave,
All right, they're going to try to get down on a Mako, and they do a great job of that. Nicely done by G2. Meanwhile, Cream is just in mid, and he's going to get another free objective here, another free building as down goes Yike, almost just frustrated, throwing himself into Top Esports as he does get kidnapped by the Cassante, and that is it's going to be pretty huge by the end of this one. It is a trade 1-for-1, but it's only the support of Top Esports that goes down, and Top Esports will not stop there. They have this massive Ezreal who is just chunking people down as finally Cream decides, okay, I'm going to try to kill some enemy champions. Might as well, as he is going to Guma Stomp on everyone on the side of G2. And this game number 1 is over very heavily in favor of Top Esports as they take down the Nexus.
This was one of the most clinical games of League of Legends we have seen at the Esports World Cup, and Top Esports were in control of